Good morning, Tallahassee. It's time to wake up Warchant on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi and Corey Clark.
What is up? Welcome to the program. It is Wake Up Warchant right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio in Tallahassee. Brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. And there are three great locations over in the Collegetown District, Madison Social Central, and Township. I'm Aslan. And he's here, everybody. Corey Clark is here. You don't have to listen to just me for 45 minutes, which is the only thing natural after that is to have a 3-day weekend. So hopefully everybody's healed and rested and doing well now. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. Good to be back here. Good to be back in 850.
Yeah, there you are. See
Memorial Day weekend.
I see you. I literally
success.
see you.
Good times.
How was the weather up in Atlanta area for Memorial Day? It was terrible back in Tampa.
It was actually pretty good. Well, no, for Memorial Day it wasn't, but for the weekend it was good. It was hot. But it was nice. Not too much rain.
Yeah, I went out to the beach one day and it was raining.
Oh well, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. Just enjoy being back-to-back World War champs. Still.
Yeah, we're still winning that, aren't we?
Still got that on our belt.
We talk about a must-win. That was Marv Levy's best-ever quote. He's like, man, it's a football game. It's not a must-win. World War II was a must-win, which it was, and we won it.
I used that on TV one time. I put on my demo reel, but didn't get me any traction anywhere. But it did get me in this chair right now, hanging out with you, doing the radio show, so I guess I shouldn't say anything, right?
What else could you want?
All right, man, so lots to catch up on. First off, we'll dive, I guess, deep into the bracket, but first off, Florida State obviously advancing, or hosting, rather, a regional for, what is this, the 40th time overall or something
41st,
absurd?
maybe? 40,
I don't know,
40,
craziness.
41st, something like that. Every year Martin's been here.
Yeah, there you go. Noles hosting a regional, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Samford coming to town. The Noles will open up with Samford on Friday. If I'm not mistaken, Friday. So we got that. But before we get all the way to that, they also got a national seed. The ACC tournament, I'm part of the brigade that likes to poo-poo on the postseason tournaments. I think if you're a Florida, it doesn't really matter what you do in your conference tournament. But
obviously it didn't because I don't think they won a game up there. And they still were the number one overall seed.
But I think the last 2 years, especially for Florida State, they needed it last year. They needed just to make sure they get into the tournament, let alone...
They weren't a guarantee to host a regional at all last year until they did what they did in the conference tournament.
So Florida State obviously needed to go into Durham and do a good job if they wanted to get a national seed. They were going to host a regional regardless. But I think just the fact they had that stretch, what was it? I don't know, was it late March, early April, or pretty much the entire month of April, or maybe parts of May, where they were sub 500 sub 500 overall. I think not even just in conference, but the fact that they had their struggles, for them to go into Durham and then beat a really good NC State team, beat a really good Clemson team, and then beat a pretty darn solid Louisville team, and the way they came back and won that game, it felt like when they jumped out to the league, you're like, oh, wow, look at them. They're going to win the ACC tournament. Who'd have thunk it? And then, poor Andrew Karp starts getting lit up, and you're like, oh, here we go. They're not going to win it after all. So, just the fact they were able to go win that tournament, what they got from it tangibly in terms of the national seed, but just to see them, not to get all cheese, to see them persevere through the adversity they faced this entire season and then in that championship game, feel pretty darn good about them going into the postseason now.
And the thing is, they could be 0-2 even in a regional. Things happen. A couple years ago, they had a crazy. I think it was Jameis's last year pitching. They had Luis Gonzalez. Justin Gonzalez made an incredible catch at the ACC tournament. I was up there to preserve a win over number one Virginia. It wasn't for the championship. It was dumb pool play, so they were done. They knew they were out of the running even before that game played, but it was Virginia. It was a big deal. It was the number one team in the country. They beat them. Justin Gonzalez makes this incredible play. You think, oh, God, they got all this momentum coming off a great win against Virginia, and then they go and I think they got shut out by Georgia Southern first game of the regional, and then lost to Alabama in the second game, and you're done. It's a weird sport, man. It doesn't really I don't think it's like March Madness where you can get hot. It can be, but and you hope it is. And last year it kind of was. They did lose, though. They lost in their regional and had to fight back through the losers bracket to win the thing, but yeah, man, it was. I didn't see that coming. I told people last week or 2 weeks ago, I didn't think they deserved to be a top 8 national seed. I didn't think it was even a possibility, but I also didn't think it was a possibility they win the 6 out of the last 7 games like they did. They took 2 from NC State, took 3 from NC State, got on the one up there, beat Clemson, beat Louisville. Those are good wins. So I get it now that they should be a top 8 national seed, but I didn't even think that was a possibility. It's odd how they kind of turned it around and looked like a different team. Good for them, though. Hey, good work.
You don't sound that sold right now. You don't sound as enthusiastic as
Oh,
I thought
no,
you were
I
gonna
just
be.
think it's, if they play like they did this weekend, they could go to Omaha, they could win Omaha. But baseball's funny. You run into a pitcher that's just dealing. Sorry, man. Congrats on the ACC tournament, though.
Right.
That's just how it works. And but I mean, I think, again, if they had Tyler Holton, I think they'd, I'd feel really confident, obviously, about them getting to Omaha. I think they'd have a real shot. I mean, if you won that first game, you have pitching. Yeah. You'd have great pitching lined up. Drew Parrish is just a fantastic pitcher, man.
Stud.
He's really good.
Stud.
He had 14 Ks in that game against a good lineup. And you have Karp who can be dominant. You have Cole Sands who can be dominant, and you have Parrish, and then you have Van Eyck who can be dominant. So you have 4 good arms that in the postseason should matter. But say Karp just goes out there, and I don't even know who they're pitching the first game. I don't know if 11 said that or not. Who they would pitch. But say that first guy just has a bad game and gives up a 6 spot to Sanford, who can hit home runs. Well, then your whole season might be over. It's a weird way that baseball can work like that. Like, it's hard to overcome a really bad start in the way these tournaments are formatted. But yeah, man, they could get to Omaha if they swing the bat like that. Mendoza played well. They hit the ball well the last couple days.
Timely hit.
Cal Raleigh continues to just scald the ball. He's made himself a ton of money in the last month. And,
Jason Varitek incarnate.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, he's not that. But he's a good college baseball player. I saw that comparison on Twitter. I'm like, come on, man. It was one of the Baseball America guys. And he's like, yeah, he's kind of like my comp is a Jason Varitek because he's a switch hitting catcher.
Yeah.
Man, Jason Varitek hit like 420. He's one of the best catchers, and he's maybe the best catcher career-wise in college baseball history. Buster was great for his last year, but he's also a shortstop before that. But Jason Varitek was incredible. Cal Raleigh's been he's been good here lately, really good, but he's not anywhere close to Varitek defensively.
I know it's crazy to say coming off winning a tournament and scoring, 11 runs in the championship game. Mendoza had that timely hit, but I still feel like, they're still leaving like 10, they had 11 guys left on base.
11 or 12 guys on base, yeah.
And a lot of the runs they're bringing in are on, pass balls and wild pitches, which they still count.
But that's why you got to get them on base. Get them on base and good things happen.
Yeah.
And if you get enough people on base, if they scored 11 and they left 11, well, man, that's 23 runners on base in 9 innings. That's
absurd.
That's good.
It is.
You put 20 runners on base, good things happen typically.
Well, it's so crazy that we sit here and we criticize, the lack of hardware, blah, 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 and Meats sort of, the way he, approaches the game in terms of making these guys be patient at the plate. And you're just like, golly, man, just want to see them just knock it around the park a little bit. But hey, they ended up winning the tournament. So
yeah, they did all right. And the pitching was really good except for the last game.
So with that said, starting wise, obviously Drew Parrish, I don't want to be the guy that says it, but you feel like he's probably due to have a letdown at some point because he's just been a machine, man. I don't know if this is just who he is and if you just have to ride the wave with him. Andrew Karp struggled in the championship game. But, Cole Sands seems to have found some sort of footing here. At least you're going to get 6 good innings out of him, it feels like now.
And Van Eyck's the wild card that can go from – he can be the almost like a bridge from one game to another from, the 7th inning to the 9th inning and then pitch it in the on Sunday. Pitch Friday and pitch Sunday. I would think they're thinking when they go into Friday, if it's a close game, they're going to use Van Eyck late. If it's not, they're going to save him for Saturday, and it'll be – Sands Van Eyck or Karp Van Eyck or whatever they end up doing, Parrish Van Eyck.
Well, I saw it when he was at the ACC tournament, the night he pitched, he actually did go 3 innings. So I'm like, okay, that's good because you feel like Drew's just going to, I'm not counting on Drew to go complete game every time he's out there. No. But, if a guy like Cole can only go 6 or Andrew can go 6, you throw him out there, he'll be fine. And listen, Clayton Kwiatkowski's been really solid.
Yeah, he's been good.
Those are the 2 guys I feel really good about coming out of the bullpen. But I think that's
kind of still he pitched well in the championship game, but you never know with him.
The way he throws, everything is just looping, breaking pitches, and if somebody sits on it, just something bad is going to happen. But those are the only 3 guys really. That's the bullpen.
And what's crazy, man, is again, I just think it comes under. We watch a lot of college football. I watch a lot of different teams play college football, and I watch a lot of different teams play college basketball. I don't watch any other college baseball teams. So it's crazy that we went through this whole year and they played 60 games. And you're telling me the team that I've watched for 60 games is the 7th best team in the country. Like, would you say that to yourself?
No.
But that's just how the sport is. They are. The numbers say it. The RPI says it. They're a national seed. So I guess it's just we always look at it in such a vacuum that, man, Florida State struggles at this or they're not great at that. And we fall into that trap every year. And it's like, you know what? They're still better than almost everybody else. They all are. Every team has flaws. Florida's on a 4 or 5 game losing streak. Now, I'm sure that'll get righted real quick, but they all have flaws. In Florida State, we just, obviously we magnify them because that's what we do. We cover them. So we see these crazy base running plays or a shortstop that they can't pick up the ball sometimes, or a second baseman that's hitting under 200, and you're like, man, this team ain't any good. This team can't do anything. Well, go look around the country, man. They're still better than every team has holes in it.
I mean, the Gators against LSU, I'm trying to pull all the numbers up here. They got 7 runs in the 6th inning off like 3 errors, 3 wild pitches, and a balk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens even to the best of them, you know. But again, let it happen in that moment when it doesn't matter. Try to make it happen when things matter the most. Let's look ahead now to the matchups Florida State will have in the regional, and maybe even look ahead to who they could possibly see if they were able to survive the regional over into the super regional round. It's Corey's back. I'm Aslan. It's Wake Up War Chant. Coming right back on 97.9 ESPN Radio right after this.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Wake up! Welcome back. Wake Up War Chant. I'm Aslan. He's Corey. It's 97.9 ESPN Radio, brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. Corey, while you're away, we'll get back to baseball here, but just a quick detour to football. T-Buck's pick 6 was the most famous defensive play in Florida State history.
Yep, I can agree with that. Sure.
Yeah. Stamp of approval?
Yeah.
Right now going on is the most famous game-winning drive in Florida State history.
What are the nominees? I know it's going to win, and I mean, I assume it might even get 95% of the vote. But what are the nominees other than the Auburn game?
I'm glad you asked. Wow, currently 85.5%.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's some. I haven't really thought about it at all. So give me the. I'll see if there's one that another one I could get behind.
Charlie Ward, 60-yard drive versus Nebraska.
No.
In the 1993 national championship game.
One of those was a pass interference. I mean, it was the right call, but it was a pass interference. They barely squeaked out a 4th and 1, or the season would have been over. No, they got it, but it was like, it wasn't. The biggest play was the pass interference, and that wasn't completion. And they didn't score. They just set up a field goal.
Yeah. Danny McManus. I try to say
Nebraska?
Yeah,
that's a good
drive.
one. Yeah, the Fiesta Bowl. That is a good one. He completed like a 4th and goal from the 17 for the game-winning touchdown.
97 yards, man. That's strong.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
right
strong.
After Nebraska was about to put it away, they were up by, I think, 4 points. They're about to go by 11 with 4 minutes left, and they fumbled at the 3. Yeah. And Florida State recovered and then went and scored.
Charlie Ward, 77-yard drive at Clemson in 1992.
Now, that's not a bad one. I was at that one.
Of course.
That's crazy. I was. That was a good one because he was so terrible. He threw 4 picks that night, including a pick 6. That's the only reason Clemson was even in the game. But I think he might have been replaced first series by Cannell, who was a true freshman. But then he came back in with 2 minutes left. They got in the shotgun full time, which would become the way they did it later on that season. But made great throws all down the field, and that was their first road ACC game.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
And then the game a few years ago, the kid from Alabama, the drive against the team from Alabama. The other team from Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to win, and it should win. None of those other ones are,
Jameis Winston, 80-yard drive against Auburn, 2013 national championship.
What would you say is the biggest play of that drive?
I guess Rashad's busting loose for 60 yards or whatever it was with the horse collar that they missed.
How that wasn't called. Actually, it probably had turned out they probably would have scored quicker if they'd have moved them an extra 11 yards, I guess, if they'd called it when they should have, and then maybe Auburn gets a chance to do some.
What do you think is the biggest play in that drive, Corey?
I think the one that gets overlooked that probably is obviously the pass interference, because that's 3rd and goal, that's 3rd down,
right?
And then all of a sudden you're 4th down at that point, and it's definitely pass interference. Oh, yeah. But they couldn't cover Rashad, and obviously Kelvin made the catch, and he's the guy you would throw to in that spot. But man, did Rashad Green make money plays all the time at Florida State. For my money, the second best receiver they've ever had. Yeah. He made money plays all the time. He was
for just
incredible.
1 year, really, though.
No, he did it in 14. He's the only guy he threw to in 14.
Oh, it's on Rashad. I'm sorry.
No, not Kelvin. Yeah, no, Kelvin just did it for 1. He really did it for about 7 games. Yeah. He wasn't anything special the first half of that season.
Oh, Rashad was the man.
Rashad was incredible. Yeah. Those last 2 years, he was just an incredible college football receiver. Really, really, really good. I hope something happens up there and he can make it in the league. Because so far, I mean, he's still there. He's still technically an NFL player, but he hasn't really made a dent yet.
Yeah, we're pulling for him. So, yeah, go over to warchant.com.
Add your vote to Kelvin Benjamin's catch, the game-winning drive.
Keep stuff in the ballot. I'm sure all these, you're like, oh, you kids and your recency bias. But
by the way, I wrote I've never pimped this story on this show, but I used to do it all the time on headlines. I wrote Jimbo was nice enough that season afterwards. I think it was after spring practice. So maybe
I bought that magazine just for that.
Do you remember the article?
Yeah.
It wasn't it really, and I'm not saying it because I wrote it.
Preseason magazine going into 2014.
Yeah,
Corey had the opportunity to sit down with Jimbo.
For the Tallahassee Democrat, and he was nice enough. It was about 30 minutes. He went through play-by-play, frame-by-frame, the final drive against Auburn, what the call was and what he was thinking and why it was called, and what the options were on each play. Just really fascinating stuff.
And didn't you walk out of the room thinking, damn, cool.
Man,
good coach.
Good coach, good man. He's going to be here for 20 years.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do this 2 years from now in that big old football facility they're going to build for him. I kind of went downhill after that.
I remember taking it to some of the high school practices I went to cover in the summer. I'm like, hey, look at this, man. They bring it down. I'm like, oh, cool. Let me look at that.
It was really
and then
neat.
We just sat there and were like, yeah, Jimbo's awesome.
It didn't get publicized nearly as much as it should have by the powers that be, but it's probably my favorite story that I've ever written, not because it was written exquisitely. It was just a really cool insight into the mind of the guy that called the game-winning drive. I thought it was a really neat, and he went play-by-play and taught me through it and what they were seeing. And, the play that they scored, the Kelvin Benjamin play, is the exact same formation they were in when they scored their touchdown in the first half where Freeman went in. Mm-hmm. And he goes, look, the whole thing was I had a timeout. I know we should be talking about baseball right now, but, hey, we can always relive that drive. He's like, the biggest thing was I had a timeout. So they knew I could run if I wanted to. If I didn't have a timeout, it would have been risky to run with 22 seconds or 20 seconds on the clock. But having a timeout was the key to everything. Mm-hmm. They really had to buy the play action because I could run it. And he goes, that's the exact same formation we were in when Devontae Freeman scored on a 3-yard run in the first half. And he goes, so I knew. He goes, as soon as he saw the flag in the air for the pass interference, he knew what play he was going to call for on first down.
I remember reading that. Actually, I think on a much lesser scale, I think James Blackman, did he throw a touchdown to Auden Tate against the Gators? I think it's practically the same play.
Yeah, you're right.
Like same formation, play action, throw it up top to the 6'5" guy. And, I remember giggling. I was watching it the other night, just bored. I'm like, let me look at the old days of Jimbo.
Yeah. The stakes were a little different in that game between two teams fighting for bowl eligibility and the national championship. But yeah, really cool drive, really cool. And Jimbo called it. I mean, that was the kind of the point of the article was like, man, there was pressure on him too. He never been in a position like that.
Tough. It's difficult, man. Yeah. It's difficult. But anyhow, back to baseball. So I did a terrible boneheaded tweet. But looking at the way everything broke down here, first off, freaking Stetson's hosting, right? Like, who's Stetson matched up with?
Oh, I don't think they are. I thought they were going to host, but didn't get.
No, they are hosting.
Oh, are they
matched
really
up with North Carolina? I mean, they would maybe go visit North Carolina. I would take that. Anyhow, so Florida State. So Tallahassee and Austin, Florida State and the University of Texas, they're the only two regionals where the host teams have to contend with two other Power 5 teams in their region. Florida State has Mississippi State and Oklahoma in their region.
Yeah, that's right. It's cool that Oklahoma's here.
Yeah, and then Texas has Indiana and Texas A&M. Meanwhile, the Fayetteville region, the Oxford region, and the Gainesville regional, never get those two places confused ever again. Not even one Power 5 team. Not even one.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Florida State and Texas, here you guys go. And then Florida State's a national seed, and they get stuck with two Power 5 teams in their region. What kind of nonsense is that?
You got to put them somewhere, I guess.
Oklahoma, though?
Is
Regional?
Oklahoma good?
Come on. I don't know. It's still Oklahoma. That's a flagship university in a Power 5 conference. I don't want to play
The beauty is at least they're playing each other. You're only going to have to, if you do things the way you're supposed to, you should only have to play one of them.
Yeah.
Because one of them's going to lose that first game, and if you win your first game, you don't have to worry about them. The two is the 2 Mississippi State?
Yes.
And the 3 is Oklahoma? Mississippi State swept Florida at the end of the year.
Yes.
So they have, and it's the SEC, and they faced really strong competition, so they won't be rattled, I guess. Maybe they will. Who knows? The Stanford kid even got rattled here a few years ago, the number 1 pick in the draft.
Mark Appel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good job, loser.
Yeah, really. And then now he's out of baseball.
Sad.
But, yeah, he went back to school, which is crazy that he went back to school after being the number one pick. That's how much he didn't want to play for the Pirates. But anyway, you wouldn't think Mississippi State would be rattled by the atmosphere that Dick Hauser will be on a Friday night for a regional. Just hope the rain stays away or the fake lightning that keeps.
Was it last year that it was just
it's
absolutely
every year.
terrible?
It's legit every year. It's every year in the postseason. There is going to be a rain delay and there will be a lightning delay when there's no lightning. But it's been detected within 8 miles of the stadium, so they have to shut it down. So, anyway, not that we want people struck by lightning. We want to avoid that at all costs, but, make people sign waivers.
Right. So, Mississippi State's coming to town along with Oklahoma and then Samford. Mississippi State, this team, I don't think there's nobody on this team that made it to the finals of the College World Series. They made it to the final series
a few years ago, right?
13.
Oh, that was that long ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they've never won it either, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
But they love their baseball. Crazy thing is too, they're saying Schlossnagle from TCU. They're probably going to get him. They're circling him. And
yeah, what's the deal? What's with their head coach? Is he retiring?
Who, Mississippi State?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's interim. Their head coach Andy Cannizaro got fired. 3-4 games of the season for having an inappropriate relationship with a staffer.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Who's that staffer is actually in Gainesville now, Dan Mullen.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, he
all right, well, that's something. Yeah, so they're going to try to get the TCU coach?
Well, yeah, and then Schlossnagle said something like, I've been loyal to TCU for the last 15 years, but if they come talking to me, I'm going to listen. It's like, well, he's going if they want him.
Yeah, if they're going to offer him enough.
And then Kendall Rogers is talking about, this was like a week and a half ago before Schlossnagle's name became the in big, bold letters, but that was everybody was kind of, I don't know, he's the next guy that everybody seems to want.
Yeah, he's done a great job there.
Yeah, and then, they're like, don't be surprised, despite the struggles of Mississippi State this year, for them to get one of the top 5 coaches in the nation. And I'm just thinking, so many people are like, I don't want to get too far off track, just like, promote meat deserves. It's like, dude, if Mississippi State can get a guy like Schlossnagle to leave TCU.
Did you see the other part of that tweet, though, about what they'd have to pay him?
I mean,
1.6 for a baseball coach? Does this school do stuff like that?
That's true.
You know what I mean? You've gotten
good job. See, we're not even. Yeah, we don't even.
You've gotten this guy on the cheap. Really, on the cheap, Mike Martin. You've gotten him on the cheap for 4 decades.
Oh, the best value in college sports, probably.
Legitimately, probably. Yeah, he's not. I doubt he's one of the top 20 paid coaches in the country. Meanwhile, and I know people can roll their eyes, but his team is always good.
Yeah.
Certainly better than Schlossnagle's teams have been.
They
historically.
They didn't make the tournament this year.
And so, yeah, and then I doubt Mike Martin Jr. will cost you $1.6 million to make him your head coach.
Right.
So, there's other factors, not just a national search to try to find the best guy. Because if you wanted to do that, quite honestly, you'd go to Florida. Say, tell us what we have to pay you, man.
Right.
If you care that much about college baseball, we'll give you $6 million a year. Come be our baseball coach. But you don't do that because college baseball don't make money. That's a losing investment.
We had some questions people were asking about Hauser, the renovations, whether the whole football-only facility thing is going to cause maybe Hauser to get moved. And
who knows?
But like,
I can't.
You've seen some ballparks now, though. I mean, you saw Clemson's ballpark,
yeah.
And then you come back here, and you're like, well, shoot, man, that'd be nice if we had.
Yeah, I mean, they
need
to. They definitely need to renovate it. But again, it's there's just apparently there's not money around here to do stuff like this. You go to Mississippi State. I don't know where they get all their money, but they're building a huge new baseball stadium.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Where does Clemson get all its money? But they get them. They get it, and Florida State doesn't, I guess, raise that kind of money that Clemson and the Mississippi States and the Arkansas of the world raise. So they gotta pinch pennies when they can, apparently. But no, I don't think they'll move the stadium. They just need to renovate it.
So you're not bothered by the fact that Florida State has to host a regional with 2 Power 5 teams?
No, I'm more bothered about who they're matched up with in the Super. Like
with Clemson,
if it holds serve and those 2 teams win, you're going to have 2 teams that have already played each other 4 times for the right to go to Omaha. You can't mix. Like, if you really think that Clemson's the 10, if you did every measure, Clemson's the 10 seed, Florida State's the 7. Maybe just switch it up 1. Make Clemson the 11 or make Clemson the 9. Avoid a rematch of a team that the 2 teams have already played 4 times. And that bothered me more than than Mississippi State and Oklahoma coming here, because I feel like that happens a good bit here, where I think like Alabama would play somebody. I don't know.
Well, you talked about if you're going to seed this up the way they do with basketball in terms of 1 through 16 in these regions. I mean, you're trying to tell me like they got Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got to be like the highest, 2 seed. Why are they coming to the 7th national seed?
Well, they don't do that after that. That's not. They just seed the top 16. I don't know why they don't do this top 64, but they don't. No. So yeah, I don't know if Mississippi State would be the highest 2 seed. I don't know who all the 2 seeds are.
And if they survive this, the Clemson regional is Morehead State, St. John's, Vanderbilt, and Clemson.
Yeah.
So you're probably getting Vandy or Clemson.
By the way, St. John's and Vanderbilt were both at Clemson last year. They sent them back to the same exact spot. Man, they just, again, we talk a lot about college baseball. This is, people in Tallahassee enjoy baseball. By and large, it is an afterthought across the country. They do not put any work into the selection committee. They even told the guy, Ray Tanner, who was the head of the selection committee, he's like, "Oh, well, I didn't know that, but now that you tell me that, we probably shouldn't have done that." They have no rhyme or reason really for what they do. It took them forever just to seed 16. It's not that hard to seed all 64, but they don't do that, and they don't want to fly them all across the country. So quite frankly, college baseball is a minor sport that we treat more importantly than most areas.
It's growing big. Come on, man. ESPN televises this entire thing now.
They televise cornhole tournaments, too. By the way, have you watched any cornhole tournaments?
No, I refuse to.
Oh, I just wanted to see how they threw it. Because I've always been at like up and down, like flipping the wrist up.
Okay.
No.
Miyagi,
The great ones, they're doing it sideways.
Like Frisbee.
Like a Frisbee. They flip it where it rotates sideways. So, yeah, just guys, if you're out, obviously ladies, any cornhole aficionados, don't be flipping it up in the air, or don't have your hand underneath it and flip it like a pancake. You grab it by one of those corners and you flip it sideways like a Frisbee.
It's all about the velo.
How long do you think it would take you if you really concentrated and practiced 8 hours a day to be a top 20 cornhole player in the country?
I don't know. How long? I mean, I think I could get it done within a year.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to do it. Yeah. It's all repetition. I guess you got to handle the big crowds of like 40 or 50 people at these tournaments, but in the stands. But yeah.
But that in esports, I just won't do it, man. I mean, I know I'm losing the battle. I'm going to be on the wrong side of history.
Oh, you've never played cornhole?
No, I have, but I won't watch
it.
I'm not going to patronize.
Well, no, I just wanted to see. I really watched it for like 8 minutes. I wouldn't watch it the whole thing, but I just wanted to see how they threw and how good they were, and they're really good. I mean, they're upset if not everyone goes in the hole.
Are they athletes?
Oh no, they make bowlers look like decathletes.
Hey, here's a real sport for you: softball. Florida State heading to Tulsa.
That's right. Wherever it is in Oklahoma, right? Sure,
Joke.
buddy.
We know it's Oklahoma City. I messed up, but it's going to be a running gag probably for the next week or so. Get aboard with it. Let's talk next about the softball right here on Wake Up Warchant, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back. It's Wake Up Warchant, 97.9 ESPN Radio. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, Director of Digital Media for Warchant.com, joined as always. Well, I shouldn't say always. There's sometimes.
Yeah, isn't always here.
Corey Clark, senior writer, always a great writer, always a great columnist for Warchant.com as well. So we're back reunited.
Preach it.
Man, thankfully we got that call-in line, 850-792-5730. Leave your messages for the Renegade Express, 850-792-5730. That was the wind beneath my wings on. I did the whole show solo Friday.
I know. How did you feel about it?
I really didn't feel too bad, but then I saw somebody tweeted something that was pretty which I should probably mark that down to edit that out. So I was like, well, that's kind of a bummer. But you can't please everybody all the time, right?
Well, no, man. You just got to be you. Do your thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I used to sometimes I'd have to do it solo in Dothan, and that was just miserable. I remember I'm just like, this is like a guy drowning live on radio. But I just had to just play all the questions and just answer the questions to the best of my ability or whatever.
That's all. So, hey, you know what? That's all you can do. Man.
We got a couple left over. Maybe we'll get to them in the final segment of the program.
All right. That's nice by the softball. That's a good rally by the softball team.
Fantastic.
Really was.
I'm being genuine as well.
What's funny about softball though, just real quick. So Lonnie.
not real quick. We're going to take as much time as we need on this.
Because it's going to be a complaint about a coaching decision.
Okay.
Which doesn't normally happen, and you shouldn't, because you should laud them for what they did the next two games. But in the first game, they were only down like 2-0, I think, maybe 3-0. I think it was 2-0, and she took her starter out, and then LSU scored like 4 more runs to go up 6-0. And then Florida State comes back and scores like 5 in the last inning. And if she had maybe stayed with her pitcher, her best pitcher, a little longer in the first game, they win the first game too. But nobody asked her about that afterwards, because it was, the comeback was nice, but it's like, why'd you take your starter pitcher out in the second inning or whenever it was when she started to struggle? And
what's to say that she would not have been?
No,
worse?
maybe you never know. Yeah, exactly. It was just, to me, it seemed odd. And obviously, if 11 did something like that, like took Parrish out after giving up 2 runs in the third inning, and then Van Eyck came on and gave up 4 more runs, and Florida State lost 6-5, you'd be like, and I know softball's different though. So.
You know what's funny is that he's so quick to always go have a talk with his guy, but I feel he's very slow to pull guys. I feel like we don't sit here a lot and talk about Mike Martin pulling guys early. I think
I think a lot of that, number one, his strength is in his starting pitching, and he knows that, and he doesn't have a ton of faith in a lot of the arms in the bullpen anymore. But back to softball, so they lose that heartbreaker. They lost 3 straight to LSU, and those LSU fans are annoying. I hear them on TV. I wasn't at the stadium, but you could hear them. They're annoying. They're large and contingent for a visiting team.
We're just passionate about Tiger softball,
and they're going crazy, and they're dancing in the aisles and all that stuff after winning, and then they get the lead. I think they had the lead in game 2, right?
Yeah, they went to extras.
Yeah, that's right. And Florida State rallies, gives up a grand slam with a 5-1 lead, and still comes back from that to win. That was just really cool, man. And then to win it in game 3, and for Jessie Warren, who is legitimately one of the best athletes in this school's history. She is probably the best hitter this school's ever had in either sport. She is an incredible hitter. For her to have those kind of at bats and those homers in all 3 games in that kind of stage in her last series in Tallahassee was really neat. And it was a good win for them, man, because I'll be honest, once they lost that first game, I'm like, yeah, man, this team
wrote them off.
Yeah, this team can't beat LSU. This team's rattled. Mm-hmm. This LSU team's in their head, because last year Florida State was number 1 in the country for most of the year, and then got kind of stunned in their own super regional against an okay LSU team from the SEC. And then they lose the first game this year, and you're like, man, they're not beating this team. They don't think they can beat this team, and I was 100% wrong, because they came back and beat them twice on one day.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, last year, I mean, I don't know if I think the numbers are something like 85%. If you're the home team in a super regional and you win game 1, 85% of the time you're going to the World Series.
Yeah, they squandered it.
And Florida State was that team that didn't get it.
And you can understand how that would weigh on you. You can say it doesn't. It's a new team. It's a new season, all that stuff. But it does, man.
We're not defending anything. We're chasing something new.
Yeah, whatever, man. You're human beings. And so for them to do that against that team was a really neat thing for them, man. That was a really neat accomplishment.
So Florida State will play in Game 4 of the 2018 NCAA Women's College World Series, which is in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That game is Thursday, 8:30 against UCLA.
Get some UCLA.
And they
don't want any of this.
They're the same bracket as your Dogs, the Lady Dogs of Georgia and Florida as well.
How many SEC teams are there?
2.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh, all right. So just Georgia and Florida.
Yep. And they got Oregon from the Pac-12 to the number 1 seed, Arizona State Pac-12, Oklahoma Big 12, Washington. Look at the Pac-12. Pac-12 just stuffing the ballot
slinging it around out there.
And then UCLA. Florida State's got UCLA. All those girls on the West Coast, all that progressiveness, We got the girls out there playing sports earlier than us in the South, So
Sure. Yeah, well, the SEC's AC. It's just really bizarre the ACC is so bad at softball. Like, they're not any good at all. But the SEC
I don't find it bizarre.
Well, I mean, but why would the SEC be good? But the ACC, I mean,
because it just means more, brother.
Well, good point. And say no more. I just figure they're all so close. You would think that, why would Clemson doesn't even have a team? Why would Georgia be really good at softball, but Clemson wouldn't? But anyway,
focusing on your resources, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe we can save that for another time.
But there are obviously people that listen to this. I'm sure we have a strong travel ball contingent of softball parents that know that there's plenty of good softball in the South.
For sure. I was being a little bit facetious there, obviously.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know just how. I don't think Florida's as dominant as they were the last few years.
Did you see? And again,
they should have lost A&M. A&M had them
they
on the ropes.
Lost all 3 games to A&M.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They won the game 1 and game 3 on a walk-off, both of them.
They won them
down to their
walk-off
final
on
strikes
walks.
twice.
They walked off on walks.
And errors. The shortstop had 2 crazy errors to keep that game alive. Then they just walked in the winning run. And then game 3, after they lost to A&M in game 2, game 3, they hit like a 2-strike, 2-out, 2-run homer to win the game.
Yeah. So, and also, I don't know, I'm looking at this too, flashback to the men. So they obviously, the big thing about getting that national seed, and I mean, I think regardless, they probably would have avoided Florida, but they certainly, sealed their fate in being able to avoid Florida in the first 2 rounds, whether it's the regional round or the super regional round. I also think they're on the different side of the bracket where I think they wouldn't even see them
until the championship series. Probably getting ahead of ourselves a little bit there, but you never know. It's good to look ahead.
It's good to plan these things out.
What time are those games?
Which ones?
The championship series? No, the championship series games out in Omaha. I need to go ahead and start making plans.
The championship series,
late June
3rd, 6 p.m. is game 6. No, they're showing regional. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was going to say.
I hit the bracket.
Yeah, the College World Series.
The World Series bracket.
Probably going to be late. Probably late June, guys. So somewhere like June 20.
It's crazy.
5th, 27th, something like that.
The 2 years I was out there covering it for when I was working at my station in Mississippi, both years, and I was on an ABC affiliate, so we would go on late because of the NBA Finals. So I don't know, have they moved the NBA up or have they pushed this stuff back because it would overlap with the NBA Finals?
It might a little bit. No, they haven't. They must have pushed NBA back. Because I remember in 2010, the Game 7 with the Lakers and the Celtics.
Moved it up, you mean?
No, I think they must have pushed the NBA back to
because
where now
the NBA Finals is coming up next week.
No, I know, but so
we won't even the Super Regionals won't even be happening.
I don't know how that would have affected because College World Series is always about the same. No, that's weird,
But yeah, that's how I remember it. That was like the Spurs Heat.
The first time I went to Omaha was the Lakers Celtics 2010, where the Lakers won Game 7.
Yeah.
That was like the game before the College World Series started.
Kobe had a really good one in that one.
No, he's like 7-28.
I know.
Isn't that crazy?
It was like Ron Artest went nuts in that game.
By the way, I just looked it up before we did the show. Kobe gets so much credit for the 5 rings, which is great. Man, people, go look at those 3 championships he won with Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal legit averaged like 38 and 17 for a whole final series. He was the MVP all 3 of those series. The first year, Kobe averaged like 14 a game, and they still won the title because Shaq could not be guarded. Shaq might be one of the best finals players of all time.
Yeah.
But, Kobe gets – I mean, he won it. He was good. But good grief, Shaq was so dominant for those first – they ain't sniffing a championship without Shaq.
30 seconds. Is LeBron the GOAT?
Oh, man. I feel like we should do a whole, like all the next shows, the whole rest of the week should be LeBron versus Jordan. I think people love that stuff, man. Me and you just screaming at each other. I don't know, man. He's awesome. And I just want to leave it at that. Like, my buddies even want to just hate on him and say he's not Jordan. It's like, man, whatever. He's awesome because that team is terrible. It's terrible.
So bad.
Might as well be playing with Kofor and Kofor will be a good. By the way, good for Kofor getting back. That's big news.
Way
for
to break
State.
that. Good job, Corey.
But yeah, that's cool that Florida State that they're getting him back. But that's what I'm saying. Like, and Kofor's a good college player, but you wouldn't think he's going to be a great NBA player. None of those guys on that team are great NBA players. None of them are even barely serviceable, and they're in the NBA Finals. Way to go, Boston! At home, and you go. They go like 3 of 29 from 3. I mean, it was just great. Terry Rozier was 0 of 10. It's good times.
Oh, back to the D League.
But LeBron's awesome. He is just an awesome. I wish he was more appreciated, and we just all appreciated his greatness because it's awesome and it's fun to watch. And they're going to lose in the finals.
Not to say I agree, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's step aside. Final segment of the day coming up right after this. It's 97.9 ESPN Radio. It's Wake Up Warchant.
You're locked in to Wake Up Warchant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Wake them up. Wake them up, Corey.
Wake up. That was a good one. That was raspy.
Yeah.
Sounded like a rock star right there.
But your wake ups used to be more just wake up.
Right. But that had a a
That was rock star.
Had a verve to it there.
That was like your 80s
I don't think I can do that again.
Glam metal band.
Wake up. You can't do it again. Just lost it.
Used all of it on that hour number 2 back in
exactly
13 and 14. I'm saying, can we ever, do you think Wake Up will ever be as iconic as hour number 2?
I mean, look, we can always
Hour number 2.
Strive for that, but no, probably
It's not the 2. It's the way he says hour. Jeff kills hour.
Oh,
hour.
no, he does. Yeah,
it's great.
Sure.
Hour number.
Yeah, he gets excited. He's got a very good radio voice. So do you, by the way.
Not really.
I'm just sitting here.
Checks in the mail.
You got it.
So, again,
Can you just hand it to me?
Yeah, I know, right? Part of the reason it made Friday easy for me, again, thanks so much, everybody, for all the questions, was that we had all these great questions. And, Corey, I should have gone back and looked at some of them.
You feel people were upset that I wasn't here to help answer them?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
some guy
they got let down.
Some guy gave like a backhanded compliment, like, "Oh, well, I guess it's better than no show." I'm like, "Sorry, man. I'm trying to help you guys."
That's my fault, gang. That was my fault.
No, it wasn't. No, it was technology. Corey and I have to connect over the internet when he's out of the pocket, and we had a brief window to do it, but we had technological problems over here. So,
right,
we got lives to live over here.
That's right.
So,
right. And I'm not getting up at 6 a.m.
Right,
you guys know that.
Crazy.
Although wake up, I am up right now.
Yes,
wasn't it like 6:45 in the morning?
Yeah.
You guys are up, going to work. What is going on? Hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, back on the grind. This will be a short week for everybody. But there are some questions I wasn't able to get to. So with that said, let's just go ahead and let's clean out the bag. And don't forget, folks, give us a call, 850-792-5730, and you can leave a message. You can be on the show. Let's go to a call.
Well, guys, we're about inches away on that one phone call. And I'll tell you, man, the person that taught me the importance of inches was Candy, believe it or not. But, yo, guys, Husband 20, a.k.a. DeWarry, I say thank you guys for doing the show. Real quick question. So what was the more embarrassing moment by a current Seminole player in the NFL? Was it the, hey, yo, what's the W? I gave you a W. We got to eat a W. Or, hey, what happened with Steve Smith? Well, I was like him down the whole game, you know. He came to me after the game talking trash, so you tell me. So was it Jameis eating the W or Jalen Ramsey working his neck with the cornrows after the game against Steve Smith? So, guys, keep being badass and war daddies, and have a good day if you want to.
All right, it's Heisman. That's
a.k.a.
Jimbo.
It was a good Jalen impression.
So most embarrassing moment by a current
Winston
in the W.
I mean, that was – I can't imagine. I think I even asked
if they would have won, though.
Sure, but they didn't. And he was not good, right? Didn't he get knocked? Just something happened in that game where he wasn't even good. I think I remember asked Jeff, because he's a big Tampa fan, about, like, what's that like to see your quarterback do that before a game? He's like, oh, it's not good.
It wasn't.
It's like, you want it. Sure, Drew Brees gets them all fired up, too. Mm-hmm. He does it. But not quite like that. It was a little. I think everybody watching that, like the team around him, was like, "What's going on right here? What is this?" And so the Drew Brees stuff is all just doing what he does and tries to get him fired up. Jameis kind of just went off the deep end a little bit with that speech.
That said, I think it's aged quite well, though.
I mean, if
people actually use it now,
well, no, I know
we can laugh
Forrest,
about
every
it.
time they won in the NCAA tournament, he'd come to the locker room and start eating the W.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, see, there you go.
Every time the camera was in there, he was licking his fingers like he'd just eaten a W. So that was funny. So maybe it will take off like that.
All right. Let's go to the final question that I wasn't able to get to from last week. Again, folks, 850-792-5730. Leave a message. We'll get to it later on this week.
Hey, this is John in Greenville. Had a question. Wondering if you guys were thinking the same thing regarding contenders for the national championship. I'm a little worried about college football. It seems like the rich just keep getting richer. It's have and have not. I would pretty much guarantee this year it'll either be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, or Georgia who wins the national championship. It just seems like even just a few years ago it wasn't that top heavy, and I'm worried that with the way it is these days, if it's just going to continue like that, or if it'll go back to the way it was back in the 90s and before. I'm afraid it's gonna be more of the have and have-nots. Just curious, you guys' thoughts. Thanks.
Thanks, John in Greenville. Well, I mean, I don't know. Was there a lot of parity back in the 90s? We were there every year, seems like.
No, it was
Miami, Nebraska,
Florida State, Nebraska, Miami, and Florida, yeah. Nebraska was in it. Nebraska probably played in 5 national championship games. Florida State and Florida played in all the other ones. No, I just think Alabama skews everything. It skews the whole prism of how you look at the sport because it's like UConn women's basketball. Now, they're not as dominant because they don't beat everybody by 70 points, and they're not there every year. But I guess UConn's gone 2 years in a row without winning it, so that's been good.
Tighten up.
But I don't think it's quite – when the women's college basketball season starts, there's one team that is going to be awesome, just like college football. And then there's like 2 or 3 other teams that you think, okay, if they have a real shot, they're really loaded. I feel like that's I think college football is more than that. I think college football, there can be teams that come out of nowhere. I mean, in 2013, Florida State started the season 13th.
And Auburn.
And Auburn was, I don't know if they were even ranked to start the season, but they weren't.
No.
So, I mean, I just think there's more parity. But yes, I think Alabama and Ohio State are always going to be there. And Clemson, I mean, yeah, I guess maybe you throw those in there. They're always going to be 10-win type teams, those three. I'm certainly not sold on Georgia, and I'm a Georgia grad. 1 year doesn't prove to me that they're one of the only 4 teams that can contend for a national championship this year. I don't buy that.
I mean,
because there's how many teams you think have a realistic shot at getting the playoffs? Would you
thing.
say Florida State has one? Like realistic, they could happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's
sure, right.
Yeah.
I think there's probably 18 or 20 teams.
Well, think about it. There's Power 5, so you have to go from those 5 conferences.
Sure.
And in those 5 conferences, how many teams?
Maybe 2 in the ACC, maybe 3 if somehow, I don't know, if Miami is really good somehow or something like that. I mean, and the SEC has a couple. Pac-12 probably has Washington and somebody else. Big 12 has Oklahoma and somebody else. So there's probably 10 or 12, 14 teams that – because once you get in the playoff, at least you got a shot.
It's crazy when you think about, I mean, some of my first memories about college football, not first memories, but I always remember watching on Sunday mornings on CNN, they would show you the polls. Like they had a show on CNN. I remember watching with my brother all the time. And, I remember being on the radio in Dothan and talk about this. Like, why Georgia Tech won a share of a national title. Colorado won a share of a national title. Like West Virginia was in the mix for a national title.
Colorado lost a game and tied another game and won a national championship. And
they should have lost. They had a fifth down against Missouri.
They really lost 2 games and tied another and won a national championship. So
Colorado
back then.
Colorado.
Georgia Tech won one.
Was Bobby Ross the coach there?
He was, yeah. So it's not quite. It's not like that. I just think Alabama, maybe Clemson too now. In Ohio, those 3, those are good choices. I don't agree with Georgia, but those other 3, yeah, man, I guess you kind of start the year out thinking, okay, what are the odds that those 3 are in the playoff? Those 3. Yeah. Probably 70%, 75%. You think those 3, 80%, that those 3 are going to make it? So then everybody else is vying for that 4th spot. That's not good for the sport, but I also don't think that's true. That those 3 are definitely getting in, but that's the perception that you have these 3 big dogs that have 2 of them have all 3 of them have great coaches. I mean, I know Dabo's not Nick Saban in the way he analyzes football probably, but he's got a great program and has done a great job, and his teams are always good. So maybe it does seem maybe I'm not looking at it the right way.
You talk about the rich getting richer.
Maybe it's top heavy.
When you say rich getting richer, to me that sounds like somebody's taking advantage of a system. But everybody's out there spending money like a bunch of idiots. I mean, Michigan threw all this money at Jim Harbaugh. They're trying. Michigan just hasn't been able to get a quarterback, and they can't beat Urban Meyer. I mean, everybody else in the ACC has been trying to North Carolina went after Larry Fedora. Now, that's a huge hire, but, I mean, they're trying to become a good football program. Miami got rid of Al Golden, finally got Mark Richt.
Texas A&M went and got a national championship coach.
I mean, as much as we want to joke about it, listen, there 10 teams in the SEC are all spending money like they can win a national title, and only maybe 3 of them legitimately can. Mississippi State and Ole Miss spend money like they can win a national title. Well, they're not going to win one.
No.
So I mean, they're trying to keep everybody honest. Now, is Arizona State by hiring Herm Edwards? Not exactly. Is Colorado going to ever become what they were? No. So I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say that.
Nebraska might not ever become what I know they made.
They're trying
Frost,
though. They're trying though. I mean, I think the Scott Frost hire is fantastic. I mean, they're trying, but some of these other, I mean, the teams in the Big Ten outside of Michigan Wisconsin. I feel like Wisconsin is just in a weird state of they're fine winning 10, 12 games.
They're top 12 every year.
Michigan State snuck up one year, but they're not. I mean, they're not investing heavily. I don't feel like in their program, but it's just. I mean, it's hard to fault everybody else that's.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you do kind of start these seasons here, and it can flip. I mean, it was Florida State a couple of years ago where people probably thought, man, they're going to start this run where they're going to be penciled in for the playoffs every year. So it can flip. It's not going to flip at Alabama as long as he's there, and probably not at Ohio State as long as Urban's there. It could flip at Clemson, and I'm certainly not penciling Georgia in for anything. So theoretically, you have 3 guys that have proven to be great head coaches that have great programs. They're perfect fits for those programs. So that does skew things. That skews the perception of things. Alabama will be in the playoff this year. They just will be. We know that going in. Everybody else is fighting for those 3 other spots.
Maybe Orgeron gets them, and then maybe Gus gets them, and they don't make it.
Well, no.
But they have to lose 2 games. They have to lose 2 games.
They always lose one. Always.
Right.
Always. They've had 1 year where they didn't lose a game.
Right.
And yet they've won 5 national championships. So they always lose one, but they never lose that second one. And so they're going to be in the playoffs. And but Oklahoma was good in the 80s. It was always about 8 or 10 teams, even back in the 80s. It seems like where you'd think, okay, starting the season, these are the teams that are always going to be good. Oklahoma, Nebraska, Miami. That was kind of it in the 80s. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. I know Florida State, guys. I was thinking like mid to early 80s. I know Florida State started to be pretty good around 87.
Yep. All right. So
that's it.
That's it. We're done, Corey.
Sorry, that was a lot of yammering.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So, again, folks, 850-792-5730. Leave your questions.
Ask us, if you can, ask us as much as you can about LeBron and Jordan. We want to do that comparison.
Yeah, where's Maxwell? Maxwell Gibbs, where you at, man? Come on.
I want to compare LeBron and Jordan and see who's the best of all time.
He's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening, folks. Jeff Cameron coming up at 3.
The Sod Cemetery, Osceola and Renegade, and of course, the War Chant. These are great traditions known to all Seminole fans. If you are a card-carrying, garnet and gold-wearing Nole, don't you deserve a site that is truly dedicated to covering FSU sports? WarChant.com's staff has over 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. WarChant.com is the only FSU outlet with a full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee. Plus, it's the only site with a full-time videographer and a daily podcast, 100% dedicated to FSU sports. Why act like Gators and settle for second best? WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.